Hey guys, what's up? It's Cody, and I'm here with my brother Colin.
Hi.
Where are you from?
I live in Atlanta. I'm originally from here in this very room. Well, I wasn't conceived here, but
Gross.
maybe. Yeah.
How old are you?
I am 31 years of age.
What do you do for work?
I work at a church. I do graphic design and a lot of things like that.
He's kind of a big deal. Follow him on Twitter. Do you remember how I first came out to you?
Let's see. I think it was by email or text message. I think you wrote me like a manifesto. Oh, like an email.
I wrote you an email, and you were the first person in the family that I came out to.
Yeah?
Yeah.
3-ish years ago?
Like
Maybe two?
2 years ago.
I remember like reading it all and being like, dang. But also that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, what were your thoughts like after reading the email? And
yeah,
what was your thought process?
It's interesting. I should have read it again so I have it in my brain. It's been a while. I think at a certain point I was kind of like, like I said, it kind of made sense. And I remember, I think reading, at least the first coming out, was like okay, we'll figure that out. Like it was one of the things where like it didn't affect me directly. It was just like, okay, I'll support you in that. That's cool. And I think a lot of people, would look at that and be like, oh, how does this affect me? And now my life is so much harder. And I was like,
yeah,
okay, you're still the same to me. Like it doesn't matter to me.
Like
it doesn't affect me.
Looking back now, do you think it makes more sense, or is it still kind of a shock? Or
no, I think it makes more sense. I think it's who you are, rather than, even as we've talked about it so much since then. I think it was who the person you've been all along, just now you can be, rather than the person you felt like you were told you had to be.
Yeah, we both grew up religious, and you work at a church. Was it kind of hard for you to be supportive? Were you ever afraid of what people within your workspace would think about you, or like what that meant?
I think for some churches that would be really problematic. I think for the church that I work at, they realize that they're a church that is not for people that go to church. Like they're a church for people that they wish went to church. And so in that sense, like everybody was pretty open. Like, yeah, I mean, don't make a point, like keep the relationship. Don't just make a point to, make sure that you're bigoted about it, or you try to say like what the church should say about it, or whatever you want to say. I think for me, it was like, yeah, but once you put a person in that place, it's very different than like the principle or the whatever you feel like you're supposed to say. It's like, for me, it's I'd rather have a relationship with you than to do what everybody should say that I would do as a response, as a reaction. Yeah. I feel like most churches like are out there, like, we're gonna make a difference and we're gonna make a point, and like they forget that it's real people and real lives, and that it's the people that matter most. Like it's not my life, it's your life. You know what I mean? Like I'm just here to support your life, and I think people get really bent out of shape when they're trying to make a point rather than keep a relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't have any points to make. It's not it's just not valuable for me. Like
yeah.
Making a point doesn't help our relationship at all. So why would I want to do that? Like it doesn't make us better. And so I think that's where for me it's not been a challenge. I think there's probably people that I would interact with and be like, how can you work for a church and be cool with it? And I was like this is how I do it. I don't know how to think of it any other way.
Yeah. Do you feel like it ever conflicted with your own beliefs, or do you feel like you need to like intervene and be like, you're making a mistake, or you're confused? Or
no, I mean, I think where I've been able to, and I don't know if we talked about this or not, maybe, but I feel like, especially with the trans situation side of it, for me, it's like, yeah, it makes total sense, because I feel like it's the person that you are meant to be.
Yeah, it's like
who you are inside.
Living
so I was like,
my life.
Nice.
It's
like in a certain sense, I feel like I'm getting to learn about the person that you really are sometimes for the first time, because you feel like you could be that person for so long that it's like, okay, well, that's the person that I was supposed to see, or that you felt like I was supposed to see, or you were told that we were all supposed to see, but this is who you really are. So it's kind of fun to get to see you for the first time, I guess, in a certain way. Cool. The way you've seen yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like when we were kids and stuff, I didn't really think a whole lot about like, oh, you don't see me for who I am, because there was a lot of times I didn't.
Category for it, yeah.
Yeah, is you're just like, I want to hang out with my brother and do what he does.
Yeah, that's the thing that was always so annoying, even as a kid, which we haven't talked about this. It was like, I look back and I'm like, you kind of just did a lot of stuff that I did. Like I would get rollerblades and you got nicer rollerblades, and I'd get the skateboard and you would get skateboard sponsorships and get super good at it. Or I'd like play basketball and you'd go play club basketball. I was like, dang, you got better at me than everything that we ever did. It's just like a year later.
Well, I'm younger, so.
No, you watched me and you're like, oh, that's how to suck at that, and then like did it way better. It was awesome.
Do like people at work know that you have a transgender sibling? Like, have they asked you questions about it?
Some have. Some people. I mean, it's not like one of the things where I like wear I have a transgender brother badge every day or anything. So like, oh, I was going to ask you about that. Like, there's certain people that are invested in my life that have asked good questions about it, and like, asked what my perspective is and some of that. But nobody's like nosy about it or think it's anything divisive or that kind of thing. I think they're more, especially from people that attend or work at the church that I work at, they're looking at it from places like, so how should I behave about this? And almost looking to me as like, however you do this, I would think I want to try to either learn from that in a certain way or not do what you did or try to do what you did. So that's kind of maybe a responsibility that I feel, but it's totally self-inflicted. Like they haven't put that on me or any of that kind of stuff.
Cool. You live across the country, so this is the first time we're seeing each other since I started transition. So like, there's so many, you missed like all the awkward months of like in-betweens and things like that. More drastic change versus being around it all the time and not really seeing the changes as much.
No, for me, like it's like I didn't really see you for a year, and so now you just look different. It's like, this is normal now. Like this is now.
Yeah.
And there wasn't like this slow trickle of change. It was just like a reintroduction in a certain way. So I think for me, it's maybe more drastic, but that clean break is kind of easier, I guess. Like it's not like I had to slowly get used to it. It was like I came here and this is now.
How's it been changing name, pronouns, and all that sort of like? Did you struggle with it at first? You still struggle with it? Like, what is the process?
Like the actual having to make my mind do it?
Yeah, like, has it been hard to switch over?
I think it was at first, more so when I'm talking about you in third person. So whenever I'm like talking about my sibling that I had, or like when I have a younger sister, that like when I'm reminiscing backward was the hardest part. But like face to face with you, or like, we're on the texting or whatever on the phone, it's just like, it's normal because you don't use any pronouns at all. It's just like, all I remember is to say Cody. Again, probably the clean break of time and separation made it easier than if like I randomly had to live here with you all the time and be like, okay, I just saw him yesterday. This is what his name is now. Got it. And like write it on my hand and be like, hello. You know what I mean? Like I'd have to always do that, but I think the separation just made it like coming to this is now. It just seemed normal now.
Yeah.
I changed your name in Dad's phone.
Oh, thank you.
And watching, like, as much as it is like watching all your YouTube videos and stuff like that, it's been like able to kind of be along the journey with you without having to actually get to be here with you through it.
Yeah.
Which I know is more like one way, but we've gotten to talk about it a bunch, which has been really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that you've let me into it, like a lot of your thinking and how you work through it. Like you could just be like super closeted and quiet about it.
Like, yeah, my brother's just not supportive. So.
Just give me a giant middle finger every time you do the video.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know, I mean, we were kind of talking about this yesterday, how like, I understand slip-ups, and I know the difference between a slip-up and like making a point by not using your right name and pronouns and stuff like that, because even I still sometimes when I'm introducing myself to people want to say the wrong name at first. Like, you're like, hi, nice to meet you, my name is, what's my name?
Yeah.
So yeah, not as much now, but it's definitely,
it's a choice you have to make for a while.
Switch for myself.
Like a new habit you have to make.
Or like when you first change your name and then like it takes a while, like someone's calling your name and you're just like do.
Oh yeah.
Like, or if someone calls out your old name, or even if you're at Starbucks and they call out your old name and you're like, shit. What negative, if any, changes have you noticed since I started transitioning?
Anything negative? I can't really think of anything that has been rough. I mean, like I think about it, just even for our parents and like the way that they have to think about it, it's probably different than what I'm feeling as a sibling. How you've been able to do it, like it's a lot of bravery and a lot of like vulnerability that is admirable, that I wish everybody could have the experience in a certain way, only because it kind of tears down a lot so that you can be who you want to be. But I think a lot of people don't ever get to do that, to where you've done it maybe later in life than you really would have dreamed of if you were to rewrite the whole story.
I like to use this metaphor for my life, where if like you're on a ski slope and there's like the green slope and then there's like the black diamond slope, I definitely take the black diamond. And I do that with one ski and no poles.
Yeah.
So I tend to do that with life. I just like, I'm gonna take the hard way, and then I'm gonna dig myself into a hole and then climb the fuck out of it. How about positives about transition? Positive changes or whatever.
I think in general, just your disposition toward life is better. I know it's a really blanket statement, but meaning like, I think you're able to live out loud a little bit more. I think a lot of it, not that you had to like fight internal demons or anything, but there was just a lot of like stuff that was happening inside of you that it's not that anybody else didn't know about it. It's like they couldn't, like they wouldn't understand it because maybe even you didn't understand it fully yet. And so I think just watching you turn into or become the person that maybe you've always been inside and that you've known, but I'm getting to know that person now, I think is probably the greatest positive for me. Is like, I feel like you're going to be the person who you feel like you were created to be.
Do you feel like our relationship has changed in any way, or for better or for worse?
I think for better overall, because I feel like I now have a brother, whereas I kind of felt like maybe before I had a sister, but it wasn't really, you know what I mean? Like even growing up, it was like we always just did stuff that like I wanted to do. It was never like we did anything that, that's weird sounding, but like we never did anything that you wanted to do because you wanted to do everything I wanted to do.
Yeah, well, I wanted to do what you wanted.
Yeah, and so it was like now it's easier.
It.
It just kind of makes sense now. And instead of it being like a big jump for you at the time, now it's just like, here's who you were all along, and now it's normal. Like it's just is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that for me has been cool. And then there's even things like when we were flying over here that I was talking to Maria about, and I was like, there's weird things that like I never really got taught or learned as a guy that I like, oh, do I like teach you how to shave? Like, is that a cool thing that a brother would do? It's not anything other than that one example, but I'm not going to teach you how to shave. You're fine. There's YouTube videos for that.
Yeah, if you ever need to learn how to shave your legs, I got you covered.
I think overall, I think our relationship is better. I mean, what do you feel like? What do you think on your side of things? I mean, obviously the distance is challenging.
Yeah. I mean, it always has been
but
a challenge. I don't feel like anything has changed.
Yeah.
I think that's like just like when we were kids, if you're going to ride a bike, if you're going to go off a jump out and you eat shit, like I'm going to do the same thing. Shit included. Do you miss like having a sister? Is that?
No, I mean, not really. Cause like in a lot of ways, it wasn't like I really did in a huge way. You know, not just because you weren't like a girly girl, like you weren't.
Yeah.
And I think that's where for me it was like okay, now it all like makes sense.
I think that's it. Do you have any closing words you'd
closing
like to
remarks?
Say? Yes.
No, not really. I mean, thanks for letting me go on here. It's been really fun getting to even watch all your YouTube stuff, just because I feel like it's been a cool insight into the way that your mind works. I think it's just a matter of you being willing to live it out loud. I think makes it more authentic, in the sense that it's not this thing where you're like writing in your unicorn covered dream journal of like things you wish will happen in the world. Like you're making your dreams a reality and you're making who you are a reality. And getting to watch that even from afar is inspiring in its own way. That, you know, I won't have to overcome as much as you've had to become the person that you want to be. Like, so what is stopping me from becoming the person that I want to be and that I feel like I'm called to be? And I think that's where, like, if you can do what you've put yourself through and what you've overcome, like any of us should be able to. I think that's what's been the coolest part of watching your YouTube videos, is watching you put your mind to something and succeed in doing so, and to thrive and become a better person for it. I think it's been the coolest part.
That coming out of closets is fun.
I don't know if it's fun.
It's freeing.
It's freeing, yeah.
Everyone's got a closet to come out of.
Yeah, it's a solid overcoming that I think is awesome.
Doesn't have to be a queer closet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's it.
Cool. Thanks.
High five. What were you talking about?
Deodorant. No.
I think I put some on.
No, we were